Hello, this is Rick Hodgson, TropicalParadise.com. What's at stake in this election? Pretty much everything. I find it interesting that BlackRock, now that people are paying attention to them, well, they're out advertising now, putting on a little smiley face. Their ESG scores, which are environmental, social, and governance, are what tanked Sri Lanka. They bludgeoned people, over investments. And this isn't just BlackRock that's doing it, but BlackRock is doing it here, and they're doing it to a lot of our companies here. Vanguard is another one. I can't remember the name of I think there's another one that starts with an S. But they're getting into our various companies and forcing them to get onto this BS score that really means nothing. These people don't know anything about any of that. Your financial investors is what you are. You're running hedge funds and things like that. You had a bunch of professors, clueless Marxist professors, radicals, that taught you all kinds of absurd things. You bought them hook, line, and sinker. You are now taking our money and using it as a bludgeon to wreck the world. That's what those professors taught you to do. Not impressed. Oh, and they had the foresight to overpay for a bunch of houses so they could possibly corner the market. That's just as the market's about to tank. And that's because of this guy that they helped get into office. Yeah, there are going to be some serious consequences for all of us because of it. But they're lackeys for the WEF. Klaus Schwab he's a lowlife. Colonel Klink. It was no surprise that Biden's speech tonight was basically a threat to corn pop our butts if we don't get into line with his view of the world and what he wants us to do. That's because he and his party have nothing left to run on. They've tanked the economy. They've cut the lifeblood, oil. And they're just at a complete loss. And he opened with the Paul Pelosi incident, the second one this year, but he's going to open with that. That didn't surprise me at all. And Paul Pelosi's story is as full of holes as a screen door. That's what he opened with, though. Wow.
30 a.m. in the morning, a man smashed the back windows and broke into the home of the Speaker of the House of Representatives, the third highest ranking official in America. He carried in his backpack zip ties, duct tape, rope, and a hammer. As he told the police, he had come looking for Nancy Pelosi, to take her hostage, to interrogate her, to threaten to break her kneecaps. But she wasn't there. Her husband, my friend Paul Pelosi, was home alone.
Yellow, no good keister off my property.
A priority 910, 2640 Broadway, cross of Scott and Normandy. I have a 14-hour copy. RP stated that there's a male in the home and that he's going to wait for his wife. RP stated that he doesn't know who the male is, but he advised that his name is David and that he is a friend. RP sounded somewhat confused. 12 over back and copy.
Units code 3 to 2640 Broadway per 14-hour.
Ever 12 over copy. 15-hour also code 3.
Ever 112 advice insufficient units on scene 2640 Broadway. Special call medic 66, location 2640 Broadway.
The assailant tried to take Paul hostage. He woke him up. He wanted to tie him up. The assailant ended up using a hammer to smash Paul's skull. Thankfully, by the grace of God, in Georgia, for example, the Republican Secretary of State and his family were subjected to death threats because he refused to break the law and give in to the defeated president's demand, just find him 11,780 votes. Just find me 11,780 votes.
And David DePep has a right-wing Looney Tune page that didn't exist until the day of the attack. Nobody knows where it came from, who put it up, who paid for it, but he has it. This kind of reminds me of Nancy Pelosi on January 6th, just deciding, hey, I think I'll have a videographer with me when we're doing all this exciting stuff here. Yeah, that's interesting, huh? What's that they say about only the criminal knows they need an alibi? Yeah. Then Biden begins talking about Raffensperger, the Georgia election, and talking about how Trump is trying to force him to find votes. Raffensperger did such a good job, like Katie Hobbs, that the state legislature stripped him of authority regarding the elections and decision making. He did all kinds of illegal changes. And so he's not allowed to do that. Quite plainly and simply, Biden, he's just the pits. Oh, he's so creepy. Ugh. Anyhow, Biden spent some time campaigning for Fetterman. All the other campaigns said no, they didn't want that, but Fetterman did. That's really more of a commentary on Fetterman's state of mind. He's can't be all there. What was funny was CNN, MSNBC, all their little parrots were just going on and with little outbursts about how it's amazing all these other campaigns. They picked Obama because you send in the best. You want the best in there. It didn't even occur to them what they were saying about the president. I found that to be pretty amusing too, but they're not self-aware, any of them. There were some border hearings and none of the Democrats showed up. Big surprise there. They're good with that. Like I said, this is not an accident. Cass Sunstein's been doing that. That's why it looks like Arab Spring down there. Joe Rogan made a very interesting observation on one of his show. I've got a video here that shows that. It was he's quite correct. But with the political climate that we're in right now, it's the reason we have secret ballots. It's insane where we are right now. Just unbelievable. There's another red wave coming, and this is going to be even bigger than the one they stopped. Now, there's going to be a lot of cheaters who are going to be going to jail after this one, I guarantee you. And when we take it back, there are going to be a lot of investigations. And I want to see some orange jumpsuits. It's time. Can't have a two-tiered system. Speaking of two-tiered system, DePep is still in jail. If it had been anybody else, he'd be out. That's a lot of what this is about. Anyhow, here's Joe Rogan.
Getting attacked, and they'll silently, when they're amongst friends, going on. Like, what is going on?
Yeah.
And those people, that's going to be responsible for the red wave. I think the red wave that's coming is going to be like the elevator doors opening up in The Shining.
Jordan Peterson has about a 26.5-minute segment that I have a link to below. It's the first link on there. And that's because I think it's very important. He's very calm and rational, but he discusses a lot of the assumptions that many of us have lived under that have fallen away. They've been shown to be fallacies. So we have to move forward and we have to correct a lot of these things. And he suggests some way forward. Biggest, most important thing is we have to get it back to where the Constitution has just a little bit more recognizable. We can keep some of what's happened, but a lot of it has to go away. Anyhow, here's Jordan Peterson.
Identifying the real danger. As the psychologist Carl Jung said in the aftermath of the Nazi atrocities and the use of nuclear weapons, quote, "It is becoming more and more obvious that it is not starvation, not microbes, not cancer, but man himself who is mankind's greatest danger. For the simple reason that there is no adequate protection against psychic epidemics, which are infinitely more devastating than the worst of natural catastrophes. That great man knew that technological man had a stark choice in front of him, to become as ethical as he had become powerful, and that a real hell awaited if we refused the challenge. The rate of change is accelerating. Our ability to do almost everything is doubling faster and faster. As our ability to communicate and to compute accelerates, the consequence of our inner disunity and insufficiency become ever more serious. As we become individually more powerful, in other words, we must take on more responsibility, or else. If we fail to rectify our personal pathologies of pride, envy, and the willingness to lie, we will find ourselves mired in conflict with the world, both natural and social, and in precise proportion to our refusal to check the devil within.
This is Rick Hogginson, tropicalparadise.com. Thank you. Have a good one. Keep the faith. Vote them out.